Welcome to our Cancer Wellness Speaker Series. I'm Lori Ball, an ovarian cancer survivor of 9 years and the founder of Faith and Gratitude. Faith and Gratitude is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing empowerment and education to cancer patients. Today we have the privilege of talking with Mary Beth Gonzalez. Mary Beth is the founder of the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation and widow of the late, great Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez. We are also honored to be speaking with Dr. Andre Williams, a Gonzalez Guardian and founder of Teshuvah Wellness in Jamaica. It was no coincidence that when I received my own cancer diagnosis in 2015, I came across numerous videos featuring Dr. Gonzalez and his research. I was instantly captivated and, to be honest, empowered as I developed my own treatment plan. He was a true trailblazer in alternative cancer therapies. After the unexpected passing of Dr. Gonzalez in July of 2015, Mary Beth couldn't bear the thought of his decades of groundbreaking research fading into obscurity. In response, she founded the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation, rallying a dedicated team to carry on his work and support others. July 21st, 2025 marks the 10th anniversary of his passing. Welcome, Mary Beth and Dr. Andre, and thank you for being with us today. We're so excited to hear your messaging.
Thank you so much.
We'll start with you, Mary Beth. Tell us about your late husband, his decades-long work in medicine and research, and why it was important for you to establish the foundation.
So, Lori, thank you so much for coming here today and allowing Andre and I the opportunity to talk about the work of my late husband and the Gonzalez Protocol and the work of the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation. So Nick was a very unusual man, and he was not only my husband, he was also my doctor, and he put me on the protocol on our third date, just for preventative reasons. So I've been doing the Gonzalez Protocol now for, about 25 years.
Wow.
And I'm happy to talk more about that as we progress. What I want people to know is that Nick was more than just a dedicated and compassionate physician. He was also a academic and a scholar and a biblical scholar. He read his Bible for an hour every single morning, no matter what was happening in his day. He was a truth seeker, and one of the reasons why he gravitated towards this work that he learned about from the rather infamous Dr. William Donald Kelly is that he saw that it was true and it worked. And he had been trained conventionally. He had gone to school, Ivy League educated, went to Brown University, went to medical school at Cornell in New York City. He was working at Sloan Kettering, doing bone marrow transplants. When he learned about this work of William Donald Kelly, and once he investigated it and met with the thousands of patients who were being treated and healed through this nutritional enzyme protocol, he just couldn't unsee it. And he knew it was true, so he changed the entire course of his medical practice, left conventional medicine, and opened his own private practice in New York City, doing exclusively this nutritional enzyme work and helping people not just with the worst cancers. In fact, he was known as kind of the doctor of last resort, but he also treated a lot of people for degenerative diseases. And interestingly enough, a lot of those patients, their family members then wanted to be on the program. So just like I was on the program for preventative reasons, a lot of other patients are as well.
That's so beautiful, Mary Beth. Dr. Andre.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me a bit about your background in oncology and how you came to learn of the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation?
Yeah, so I am a conventionally trained hematologist and oncologist. I was trained in Jamaica, and I thought that my career was well planned out. All I had to do was just stick with the program, keep giving chemo and radiation, and there's nothing really to stop me. I actually won an award from the American Society of Clinical Oncology for the work I was doing back home in Jamaica. And it seemed like everything was perfect until I started to get uncomfortable with the results. And as you all know, the success rate of chemotherapy and radiation, let's use the word, it varies. It's probably the best way to describe it. And that's being generous.
Yeah, that's kind.
That's being super kind. So I started getting interested in nutrition and the impact that that has on cancer treatment. And the more I dove into nutrition, I did the Gerson therapy, for example, got trained in that. And I started to realize there was a whole world out there that I hadn't previously heard about with good success. And of course, like Mirabeth just said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Mm-hmm. So the result is I quit my hospital job, walked away from it with no golden parachute, continued to run a small little office back home in Jamaica and started to implement nutritional approaches for my patients. And the whole thing just snowballed over time, and I've never looked back. And then, of course, I heard about the awesome Dr. Nick Gonzalez and his work that he was doing. And in many ways, I felt like it kind of mirrored my experience because he left his conventional job and went on to do what he felt was truth. And here was I doing the exact same thing. And the thing about the Gonzalez protocol as well is that it just made sense. It's individualized, it's specific to the patient being treated, it's adjustable depending on the type of patient being treated, and also the scientific rigor that Dr. Gonzalez applied was so impressive. And so here I am, how many years is it later? 2015 is when I first heard about him, and I'm here now in 2025, 10 years later, privileged to say that I'm walking in his footsteps.
So when Nick died in 2015, we were all stunned. He was my very healthy husband who just dropped dead and died in my arms on the floor of our home. And I really didn't know what I was going to do, but having witnessed the miracles of his patience over the 15 years that we were married, I knew that I had to do something to keep this work alive. Overnight, I inherited his office lease, his medical practice, his 300 boxes of files, and his baseball card collection. So that was pretty awesome. So I had to figure out what to do, and I really wasn't sure how to go about it. But I was so thankful that I allowed certain people who I trusted into my circle, and they were colleagues of Nick's, they were devoted patients, and we said together, we're going to figure this out. We're going to start the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation, and our goal is to not only carry on his work so that other doctors can learn it, but we're going to publish those unfinished books of Nick's. So as his wife, I can attest that Nick worked 7 days a week. Oh. And when he wasn't seeing patients, he was writing about his patients. And he was in the process of finishing a cancer casebook series when he died. And he had written 120 cases. Now, he wanted to write 125. So that was the goal. And I kept saying, like, isn't 100 enough? Isn't I think 120 is good. Like, let's get this published. But he wasn't finished. So the first thing that my team and I did is edit the 120 cases, and we published them as the Conquering Cancer Casebook series. And they cover pancreatic cancer and breast cancer and 19 other types of cancer, running the full gamut. And so that was a big priority because we just didn't want his voice to be silenced. And we wanted these patient stories to be told. You know, they're the true heroes, and they were the ones who had the faith to do this program, which is quite rigorous. And I'll let Andre talk more about that. So the Gonzalez Foundation promoted these books, and then we went on to create a curriculum to teach other doctors how to actually implement the Gonzalez protocol. And I was thrilled that we found Andre. It seems like Andre found us, but kind of the same time, the executive director of the Gerson Institute, who had really become my mentor. She was a follower of Nick's work and a major fan. Anita Wilson said to me that she would help me in any way she could, but the most important piece of advice she could give me was to sign up Andre and get Dr. Williams on board as one of our doctors, because he's brilliant and he gets it. And so it was just really more than a coincidence that I was interested in him at the same time he was interested in us. And so he joined our educational seminar, which we did in 2021 during COVID. That was kind of crazy. But that was a really, it was a great time for us to dedicate our study to this work. We wrote a 700-page textbook. We had 10 hours of rigorous in-person learning. And Andre graduated at the top of the class, and that's why he's here.
Was he your first Gonzalez Guardian?
So we started with a small kind of a beta group of doctors, because let's be honest, we didn't really know if we could pull this off, because Nick didn't write the book about how to do the actual Gonzalez protocol, like the only book he didn't write. So we spent years piecing it together and creating the textbook. And yes, Andre was in we call it the A team.
Oh, yeah.
The first class of doctors. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It was really awesome. And because it was during COVID, it kind of felt like you were on this mission to kind of resurrect, kind of like Indiana Jones finding the lost ark in the midst of all the other stuff going on. It was so great. It was awesome.
So you were able to parse all that chaos, right?
Here.
And here you are.
Oh, yeah. And it was worth it.
And one of the true blessings of working with Andre is that not only is he seeing great results with the patients of his who are on the Gonzalez protocol, but he also is our medical reviewer. So he acts as that person who oversees every single patient who's currently on the Gonzalez protocol, and he reviews all of their medical files to simply make sure that the patient protocol, because they're all individuals, they're completely customized, that it is in line with Dr. Gonzalez's vision. And I'll let you speak more about that.
Oh, yeah. So it's really good to be able to literally walk in Dr. Nick's footsteps. And as you could imagine, there is the need to preserve that legacy. And I feel like because of my extensive cancer treatment background, it's such a privilege to be able to look at these cases with an entirely new lens. So in the past, I'd be looking at, let's see, which chemotherapy would work with this person, or how much radiation should they get? But now I'm kind of looking at two different things. I'm looking at nutrition and all the different things that spin off with the Gonzalez protocol. But I'm also better able to look at this patient as an individual, which was what was severely lacking on the dark side, as I call it.
Well, yeah, because conventional sort of Western medication, right? That's there. The option is there isn't an option, right? Because the option is this is what you're going to do.
Yep.
This is what we have to offer.
Yep.
And as a patient, I remember talking to my medical team about a bunch of different alternatives and eating and all these other Eastern sort of ways, and they just didn't understand, and it didn't prohibit me from doing all of these things, right? Because I looked at it holistically, but I totally understand what you're saying from a cancer patient. I get it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, in a way, as medical doctors, we're trained literally to walk into a box and then exist in that box for the rest of our lives, unless somebody says, well, we're going to strengthen like one side of the box a little bit. And you're like, oh, cool. Did you see the latest studies? But I was like, no, I want to be outside of the box, not just existing within it. And I think that's exactly what Dr. Nick wanted as well.
It was really important to Nick to document all of his results because he really was a research scientist before he started the work with Dr. Kelly. And so it's now our plan to continue in the vein of publishing our scientific results. And so we've been at this now for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to create, long-term publishable success about a cancer patient, right? They can respond well in a few months, but that's not publishable or considered important enough to warrant somebody like raving and sharing about it. I like to think that, similar to how in the first years when Dr. Gonzalez was practicing, he spent 6 years putting his cases together, and he actually wrote a book about the best 25 cancer cases that he had in his 6 years. So that's one of my goals, is that once we've done this now for 6 years, we'll be able to have enough cases that we can publish to show how well this work lives on.
Yeah.
And Andre already has several cases.
Yeah, I'm totally blown away by just the speed at which patients feel better on the protocol. That's the first thing. And then, of course, applying the scientific rigor that I've learned over all these years to their cases, it's obvious that there's something different here. At the very least, we're seeing lots of disease-free survival, meaning, survival in general is significantly improved on the Gonzalez protocol. Dr. Nick established that from before. But we're seeing patients who, for example, I reviewed a case who had pancreatic cancer, which uniformly has a prognosis of 3 to 6 months at best. And 6 months never happens. And that's the reality. And this gentleman was not the youngest. So you kind of thought, let's hope we can get maybe 4 months. And he went on to live 18 months. And the truth is, if we're going to be totally honest, a lot of what contributed to his deterioration subsequently is just not being diligent with the protocol. He found it easy to do, and maybe it was too easy to do.
And he's doing well, so he started to experiment.
Exactly.
And add things.
A little bit. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's mountain biking. He's all over the place.
I think he liked bacon. I think he added some bacon.
So, and that's just one of many cases I've seen in this short 3-year span that just defy all the odds. And it's one thing to have like a pop-up case that you can hold up and say, this is awesome. I think I found the cure for cancer. It's another thing to have reproducible, demonstrable improvement over time. And in a way, it's also significant that when the person is no longer diligent, that there's also deterioration. So it was because of the protocol that they were doing so well. Yeah.
So when a person becomes, when they come into the program, you're following them from the time they start throughout, right? Until they're considered NED or no evidence of disease? Or?
So, I remember those terms.
Because it's totally it's conventional.
So, I totally get what you're saying. I think my whole paradigm now is that I expect patients to do well, certainly on the protocol. And so it's kind of more troubleshooting for me now. Like I'm already anticipating they're going to do well. So I'm trying to anticipate where they may have an obstacle, because as the body heals, sometimes the improvement feels like something is going wrong. So they may feel, for example, headaches, or maybe they have a few joint pains. So I'm getting ready to be able to walk them through that, rather than when I was on the dark side, when it was, I kind of knew this was going to happen anyway. I mean, it's a side effect of the drug. And so it's a lot more of an optimistic feeling working with patients on the protocol.
And the protocol really is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's not something you do for a 3-month period to get into remission.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is training people on how to completely change their diet, their detoxification, their environment. We're educating them about all the toxicity in their life is not necessarily their food or their environment. It could also be the people in their life. So there's a spiritual element to this, a physical element to this, and an emotional element. I'd love, Andre, for you to talk a little bit about what makes the protocol unique, the trophoblast model of cancer, or metabolic typing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been kind of told for years that to beat cancer, you need to be on a plant-based diet. And everybody's kind of just embraced that. But the truth is, as Dr. Nick discovered, and building on the work of pioneers before him, Dr. Weston Price, Dr. William Donald Kelly, Dr. John Beard, there's a whole lot more to what cancer is and why it manifests in each individual. So we each have metabolic types that are unique to us, that are passed down essentially from our ancestors and kind of influenced by our environment, but mostly constitutional genetics that we get from our ancestors. And those govern where our body is on a spectrum from fight or flight, which is the extreme state of arousal and being ready to fight and run out of the building if necessary, versus the opposite, which is when everything has calmed down and you're kind of in a rest and digest mode. So the fight or flight mode is called the sympathetic mode, and the rest and digest is parasympathetic. And it's kind of cool to be able to switch from one to the other in like acute situation, short term. But when you find yourself stuck in one or the other mode, then it impairs how your body is able to regulate. And that's what we call dis-ease. So your metabolic type largely spans a spectrum between sympathetic dominant, meaning you're constantly in fight or flight, or parasympathetic dominant, which sounds like it would be good, but it's not really, because it's rest and digest. And then there are a few people who are kind of in the center or on either side of center. And if we consider how that influences how the body responds to different vitamins, to food, and so on, it kind of means that not everybody wants to be alkaline, because in the same way, a sympathetic dominant person is more acidic all the time, and a parasympathetic dominant person is more alkaline all the time. And if you kind of just guess by putting everybody on a plant-based diet and kind of hoping that the alkaline diet works, then you're potentially pushing the person even further into a zone that they're not supposed to be in. So the metabolic typing element of the Gonzalez protocol is so critical. It's really a disruptor of the status quo, because it means that you could actually be on the wrong diet without realizing the supplements that you're taking could actually be the wrong ones for where you're at.
And Dr. Gonzalez found that certain cancers are actually associated with different sides of the spectrum. So there's certain cancers that are associated with being sympathetic dominant and certain cancers that are associated with being more parasympathetic dominant. And yet by balancing that autonomic nervous system, you can actually bring the body into balance and cure virtually any disease. But we don't do it just with diet and supplements.
Yeah.
We also do it with pancreatic enzymes, and that's part of the secret of the trophoblast model of cancer.
Yeah. So, which I'm going to talk about.
Yes. We're waiting.
Yeah,
This is so exciting.
All right. So the trophoblast model actually has its origins in Dr. John Beard, who did work centuries, maybe 2 centuries ago. And he was an embryologist. And he realized that when the placental cells, meaning the cells that are supposed to help to provide that life support for the developing fetus, when they need to get anchored into the mom's womb, they need to be able to invade. They need to be able to multiply quickly. They need to be able to get blood supply for themselves. They need to be able to not really take answers from anybody. And they need to firmly embed within the maternal womb. And that, if you think about it, sounds very similar to some other cells that we know, which invade, multiply quickly, take answers from, respond to no one. So they're very similar to cancer cells. And those placental cells are known as trophoblasts or trophoblastic cells. And what Dr. Beard realized was that if there are 2 cells that kind of seem like they behave the same way, is it possible that they kind of are the same thing? which is a whole other story that we don't want to get into. The critical point is that he discovered that at a specific point in the gestational age of the fetus, these cells just suddenly stopped multiplying. They stopped doing everything, and they kind of just ceased activity and okay, I'm not going any further. And he couldn't figure out what it was until he made a connection that on that day was the day when the fetal pancreas started to release enzymes, which technically the baby wouldn't need because it's not eating anything. So why did it release the enzymes, and why did that cause the placental cells to stop? And he took it a step further and realized, hey, if it makes the placental trophoblastic cells stop, I wonder if it would do the same thing for cancer cells. And what do you know? It did. So since then, we've kind of built on that. Dr. Gonzalez has pioneered. In fact, I think he's most known for that.
He is. And so he developed his own line of pancreatic enzymes, which are still available today. And we essentially have every patient, not just our cancer patients, take a high dose of daily pancreatic enzymes for both prevention and also to fight these cancer cells.
Yeah. So it's kind of like an off switch or off signal. We're in a digital age where you can send a Wi-Fi signal to like a lamp or something to turn it off. And it seems as if pancreatic enzymes are that off signal for tumor cells.
And we've seen that for 40 years, now almost more than 40 years, it's been working across all different types of patients, all different types of cancers. And so while Nick always dreamed of having this fabulous scientific research study that would prove the effectiveness of the pancreatic enzymes, we know from empirical evidence and all these people who are still alive today how well it works.
Yeah.
Now, do you find a lot of the patients coming to you are more of a late stage, or are there a lot of people coming to you after having learned about the Gonzalez protocol, just to sort of be more of a preventative patient coming in thinking, wow, I have a little bit of history. Maybe this is something I should consider embracing.
You want to take that one?
Sure. I'm happy. So I run a team who actually works with any prospective patient. And so we see a broad spectrum of people who either are really looking for their last alternative, and that conventional medicine has already told them that there's nothing more that can be done. So we do see a group of those people. We also see a lot of people who have been recently diagnosed and they don't know what to do. And they feel rushed into a conventional medical process and treatment program. And so they kind of come to us to try to learn more. But it's really a challenge because the whole system is already pushing them through. And Andre, I'd like you to speak more about that in a minute. And then we have a group of people who always have known that if they were ever to get sick, conventional medicine didn't heal their friend died of chemo, radiation, they've seen their family members pass away. And when they learn about the Gonzalez protocol and this nutritional enzyme approach, it just makes so much sense to them. So they come to us with confidence and say, this is the only thing I want to do. And we try to provide information to all three groups of those types of people through our website so that whatever state they're at in their decision-making process, we can arm them with information and education.
So I feel a sad thing, again, from a patient standpoint, right? When you start looking into more of a holistic approach, trying to figure out, and that's when I stumbled upon Nick's work. I told you, I made comment to that, is because it didn't make sense to me to poison my way back to health. Because I knew that, so obviously cancer was able to take hold and grow because my immune system wasn't working.
Yeah.
So it was it was sort of a diabolical sort of a thing when my husband and I are sitting in the oncologist's office, and the only thing they have to offer is 18 consecutive weeks of chemotherapy, it didn't resonate with me. But at that time, even though I've stumbled upon all these other things, you're afraid, right, as a patient, to step outside the box.
And you feel like you don't have time to explore other options.
Right.
Well, so fortunately, Andre's writing a book about this topic.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so I'm writing a book that's actually meant to address this very scenario, because so many of my patients come to see me in whatever capacity, either as a first point of contact or through the Gonzalez Protocol and Foundation, and they're just totally overwhelmed. The other thing you didn't allude to earlier, Lori, is that there's also like so much information coming at you at the same time. And that's what patients say. They say, oh my God, I don't even know what to do right now. I don't even know if I can sleep. Is sleep allowed when I have cancer?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because your mind, it's such a chaotic time and you're just scanning it. It. For me, just you're looking for something that's going, in my case, to subvert. I just didn't feel intuitively connected to that whole side. But at the same time, you're just afraid, and you're looking to someone outside to say, I think you should try this, try this protocol. But all you get really, and which is great, is we support whatever you decide to do. And then you're wondering too, with regard to insurance, right? That can be something that people sort of, they're afraid of, because, a lot of these sorts of wonderful protocols, sadly, in our system, aren't covered by insurance. So that kind of causes a patient to recoil and, kind of acquiesce to.
So I'm actually writing a book and possibly a course just about that. And by the time this airs, I suspect it will be out. So it's called the 15-Minute Cancer Decision. And what it is, it's helping patients to move from that point of helplessness, fear, confusion, overwhelm, to a point of confidence where you can make a decision about what feels right for you without regret, without double-mindedness and indecision, like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? And it also helps to cut through the noise with all of the information that you're getting at the same time, most of which is medical terms that you've never heard before, and kind of gets to the nitty-gritty of what do I really need to know to make a decision here. And the whole aim is to empower the patient who has just been given this news to realize that, first of all, you can heal. And once you can get out of your head, you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly what the path to healing should be. And I get emotional sometimes when I talk about it, because patients come to see me crying. And I spend the first 15 or 20 minutes just trying to get them to take a deep breath, and then there's another 40 minutes after. And so I'm hoping that this book will change the game a little bit in terms of at least giving patients that power back to feel like they're in charge of the decision, regardless of whether it's insurance or not insurance, whether it's chemo or not chemo. I want you to be able to feel like you are confident in why you're choosing what you're choosing. And I want you to be able to do that in 15 minutes. So let's see.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's exciting because our bodies are miraculously made. We know they want to heal if given the right internal environment. And I think sometimes when, you're sitting in, an office, you feel powerless. And so that's great. I'm excited for the book.
You made a great point, Lori, which is I don't think we're, as a globe, as a society, I think we're putting too much emphasis on killing cancer cells. And regardless of what the tool looks like, it could be chemo, radiation, surgery, immunotherapy. There's this great breakthrough that has 100% efficacy in killing cancer cells. But I think that killing cancer cells are just part of the picture. And that's why I love the Gonzalez Protocol so much, because it's a comprehensive approach to not just killing cancer cells, but also helping the body to rebuild and to detoxify. And I don't think that we're going to get much improvement in our cancer outcomes until we start looking outside this narrow-minded focus of, oh my God, I'm killing so many cancer cells right now. Yeah, but what about the patient? What's happening to the patient? Are they getting better while you're doing this? So it's a pet peeve of mine.
not only do patients tend to get better when they do the Gonzalez protocol, but they also have a better and higher quality of life. Nick would explain to them that they can live with cancer like one lives with diabetes. And he also was, he would encourage them by explaining that God really designed us to be well.
Yep.
And it's part of our job to take that responsibility to figure out what we need to do to get well.
Yes.
You know, it's not your mom's job. It's not your doctor's job. It's not your spouse's job. You know, you need to actually take some responsibility, and we are here to guide you. We have all the different tools. Hopefully you choose to work with one of our doctors and they can walk you through and design a perfect path for you. But we have other tools on our website for those who aren't quite ready to make that larger leap to meeting with a doctor. And we kind of call it like hitting your body's reset button and get you back to your factory setting, get you back to the right metabolic state where you can heal. And it's been a really powerful way for us to not only treat cancer, but just to help people with any type of disease.
Yeah.
I think it's so powerful, and it's very encouraging, right, for all of our viewers to hear that there are definitely things that you can do for you to help, better your body, just to help your immune system to fight whatever comes our way. How would somebody become part of your program?
Well, we have a lot of information on our website. It's called thegonzalezprotocol.com, and specifically a section on how to apply. Now, we use the term apply because there actually is an application process. And the intent of the process is twofold. It's really to make sure that the patient understands what they're going to be responsible for doing, because this is not the kind of treatment where you're kicking back and getting chemo and eating ice cream, right? You are actively involved. You have to follow your specially designed diet, which means making, in some cases, fresh juices several times a day, shopping and cooking foods that are pure and organic. You need to take a large amount of supplements every day, not just those pancreatic enzymes, but the supplements that are going to help balance your autonomic nervous system. And then you have detox routines that we recommend, and they're going to be different for different types of people. In fact, not even 2 breast cancer patients will have a different program.
Yes.
So there's going to be daily detox that we encourage you to do, weekly, monthly, quarterly detox programs. So in our application process, we want to make sure people understand that will be their responsibility, and that's where some people say, okay, that's too much for me. We often encourage people to have a helper in their home who's going to be supportive to help keep them on track and doing these things. And then we also look at medical records in this application process, and we try to assess whether we, from our history of treating so many different diseases for so many years, think that we can realistically help this patient. Because we don't want to give hope to somebody if we don't actually think this is the best program for them. In fact, sometimes when we refer patients to Andre, he's with his great medical background, he's able to say, actually, I think you are a better surgical candidate before you do the Gonzalez protocol, and then come back to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So we try to give the patient advice because, our goal here is not to just create an army of patients. Our goal is to heal people, and we want to do what's best for them, and we don't want to create false hope. So in this process, you'll meet with one of the people on our application team. They actually worked in Dr. Gonzalez's office for many years, so they really know the protocol and and the questions and the kinds of things that the prospective patient needs to hear. And then at the end of that process, which doesn't take very long, just a couple days, they'll be given access to our doctor directory, which is a password-protected area of our website, and they'll be able to see the doctors that are doing the Gonzalez protocol and pick the one that they think resonates best for them and aligns with their philosophy. And we give just videos, you can get to know them. You see a lot of pictures of Andre talking about his work, because we want people to connect with their doctor.
Comfortable.
You need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You need to trust this doctor. So that's the process. And I worked for so many years in Dr. Gonzalez's office. So some things we just keep on doing. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you ever see a patient where you feel like that they're just so full of cancer that you just don't know that you'll be able to, or do you always offer that hope? Because our bodies all respond differently. We're made up so differently metabolically. What is your thought about that?
Yeah. So for me, I've always felt that individualized medicine was better. And for me, it's not necessarily about whether they're so full of cancer that they're not helpable, but sometimes it's actually where's the cancer located. And for me, that's a big deal. So if they have cancer, for example, in the liver, and there's lots of cancer in the liver, then their ability to detoxify is impaired. And that's a decisive thing for me. So I think what Marybeth said is so accurate, that we want to be selective, not that we're only choosing a specific type of patient, but we want to be able to communicate with the patient about the reality of what their cancer is doing to the body, and whether they might be able to even tolerate the protocol at that point. But I enjoy helping these patients because many of them, just having the conversation with me about what the protocol would entail, they get a better perspective on what's possible for them. And even if they don't choose to do the Gonzalez protocol, many of them start to get that renewed sense of hope that says, hey, maybe there is something I can do here. Yeah. So.
And so much it's just that. That just allows that person to feel that empowerment and feel like, I'm doing some research here and doing something for myself. Yeah. And it feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. As it should.
As it should.
Our bodies were built to heal. And I think we've lost that messaging for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
We kind of assume that you need a doctor to help you heal. But truly, your body was supposed to be able to heal itself. And when it doesn't, it's because it needs a little bit of a push or maybe a pull.
Yeah, or maybe a pull. So what is next for the foundation, Marybeth and Dr. Andre? What can we look forward to?
Well, we've come so far in the 10 years since we launched the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation. At this point now, we've got 9 published books. I wrote a cookbook during COVID, so that's organized by metabolic types. We have now trained and educated some of these doctors. So for quite some time, I thought, okay, the focus of the foundation needs to be on supporting all of these doctors and making sure that the patients and the doctors are feeling comfortable with what they're doing. But then I received this star word from my church, and so the star word is something that is given to you during Epiphany, and it's supposed to represent a way that God moves in our lives. And you don't get to pick your star word. The star word picks you. And my star word that I just received during Epiphany is the word expand. Now, I got to tell you, when I got this word, I thought, oh my goodness, how could I do anything more? I'm already doing so much. I already am wearing so many hats. How can I possibly expand? But just how God has shown me the way and so many other times in my life, I just had to trust. And sure enough, doors opened, people came into my life, new ideas came to the surface. And so now I can say that what you can look forward to from the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation is expansion. So we are doing that in the form of educating more doctors in how to do the protocol, specifically doctors in markets with high demand. Because during COVID, a lot of people were comfortable doing remote work with their doctors. And now we want to focus on key markets where people really want to see a doctor in person. Mm-hmm. We also are expanding the supplement line. Dr. Gonzalez designed a long list of supplements for people on the protocol. So we are in the process of expanding that line. We are also expanding to other markets. And what I mean by that is moving beyond the cancer and degenerative disease markets, but focusing also on people who just want to understand how to be well, or what type of foods that they should eat, and even a little bit of cancer prevention. So we're moving into that space as well. And I'm so thrilled that the doctors that are working with us now, these Gonzalez Guardians, are around the world. Most of them are all writing books this year. So we're going to be expanding their message. Not only is Andre writing books, but actually all the other doctors are writing books. So we'll be able to share their message as broadly as possible.
So exciting. We can't wait. So what about a key takeaway that we could sort of leave with our viewers today from each of you?
Yeah, well, for me, I think it's very important for the person watching this interview to know that you can heal. I don't think people are saying that enough. I think we're kind of sitting and waiting to hold up a few success stories and say, well, maybe remotely this could be you. But the truth is your body was built to heal. And the moment you start to believe that is the moment things kind of shift on your behalf. I actually don't want to say anything more than that because I think that's a mouthful already.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
But it's so positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to leave people with the message that it's okay to make mistakes. And it was a mantra of Nick's that if God wants this work to succeed, it will. And that gave him the freedom to take some risks in his career. It was something that I kept hearing in my head after he passed, because as I was mentioning earlier, I didn't know how I was going to carry on his work. But knowing that God had my back and that it was all going to be okay really helped me take chances. Take chances with the doctors that we educated, take chances with the books that we published. And so I want people to know that they shouldn't be afraid, and you can take the leap. And if they can just trust the fact that God is going to take care of them, that it will all be okay.
It's beautiful, Mary Beth. So with that, thank you both again.
Of course.
For having us in your home today, and for sharing time with us and your insights. Before we go, I want to read a very important quote by Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez. It's actually sitting on my computer. And it reads, "I have done what I have done because of the truth of it. And the truth has proven to be only truer as I've gotten further into this quest. And the results have been my greatest joy. We have found the fundamental way in which nature works with cancer, and it's extraordinary. It's the greatest reward I could ever ask for." And in conclusion, I want to let people know that Faith and Gratitude has a free resource guide that we provide to anyone newly diagnosed with any type of cancer. Just merely reach out to faithandgratitude.org to request yours, and also the many other resources we have available. And to learn more, we'll reiterate the Gonzalez Foundation website, and to support their cause, go to thegonzalezprotocol.com. And then to learn more about Dr. Andre and his work, visit Teshuvah Wellness, JA for Jamaica.com.
At this time, we would especially like to thank our sponsors for making this speaker series possible.